Basic psychology, lateralization and split brain research. Hemispheric lateralization. Did you know that the two halves of our brain are not identical? They actually have specialized components limited to each hemisphere.
Really? I didn't know that. Can you tell me more about this?
Absolutely. Research has found that functions like language and speech are localized in the left hemisphere, while visual motor tasks and facial recognition are linked to the right hemisphere.
Fascinating. So the two hemispheres have different responsibilities?
Exactly. But it's not as simple as that. Split brain research has shown that the brain is not divided into specific sections for specific tasks. The way the brain is connected between different regions is just as important.
I see. Can you give me an example of how this works?
Sure. Paul Broca, a famous neuroscientist, found that damage to the left area where language and speech centers reside caused problems in those functions. However, the same damage to the right hemisphere in the same area did not result in language or speech problems.
Wow, that's really interesting. So the two hemispheres can communicate with each other?
Exactly. The two hemispheres are connected through nerve fibers called the corpus callosum, which allows information received by one hemisphere to be shared with the other. Hemispheric lateralization evaluation. It's believed that brain lateralization can increase our neural processing capacity. For example, the left hemisphere could focus on language and speech, while the right hemisphere works on visual spatial tasks.
That's fascinating. But is there actually evidence to support the idea that lateralization provides an advantage?
You raise a good point. A study by Rogers et al., 2004, found that brain lateralization in chickens was associated with an enhanced ability to perform two tasks simultaneously, such as finding food while remaining alert for predators.
That's interesting. But can we really generalize those findings from chickens to humans?
That's a fair question. Research has also shown that lateralization can be associated with both strengths and weaknesses in certain areas. For instance, mathematicians and architects are more likely to be left-handed and have superior right hemispheres, but they may also be more prone to immune system problems.
Wow, I didn't know that. So, it seems like brain lateralization is a complex topic with both advantages and disadvantages.
Exactly. And interestingly, some research suggests that lateralization of function can actually change with age. Szaflarski, 2006, found that language being localized to the left hemisphere decreased with each decade of life after the age of 25. Split brain research. Did you know that split brain research was first studied by Roger Sperry and Michael Gazzaniga in 1967?
No, I didn't know that. What did their research discover?
Their research found that when the corpus callosum, which connects the two hemispheres of the brain, is cut, information presented to one hemisphere can only be processed by that hemisphere.
That's fascinating. Can you give me an example of how this works?
Sure, when a patient is shown a picture of a dog in their right visual field, the information is recognized by the left hemisphere, which is responsible for speech and language. However, if the picture is shown in the left visual field, the right hemisphere, which lacks a language center, is unable to express what it sees.
That's amazing. What else did the split brain research reveal?
One important finding is that the brain is not organized into specific regions responsible for specific tasks. Instead, the connectivity between different regions is just as important as the operation of the different parts themselves.
I see, so it's not just about the individual regions, but how they work together. This research must have had a significant impact on our understanding of the brain.
Absolutely. Split brain research has provided invaluable insights into the complex workings of the human brain, and has greatly advanced our knowledge in this field. Split brain research evaluation. Split brain research has been a topic of great interest in the field of psychology, but it's important to understand that the findings have been undermined in more recent years.
Oh, really? I wasn't aware of that. Can you tell me more?
Absolutely. Earlier studies had suggested that the right hemisphere was unable to handle language, and that it was primarily the left hemisphere's domain. However, case studies have shown this is not necessarily true.
That's fascinating. Can you give me an example?
Sure, there's the case study of a patient known as JW, who was found to be able to show language ability from the right hemisphere, and speak out about information presented to him on either side of the brain.
Wow, that's really interesting. I didn't know that was possible.
Yes, and another important point is that split brain procedures are now rarely carried out, making it difficult to find sufficient numbers of participants for research and draw useful conclusions.
I see. So the lack of available participants is also a limitation of the research?
Exactly. Andrews, 2001, argued that many studies are presented with as few as 3 participants, and some have only single participants. This raises concerns about the validity and generalizability of the findings.
That makes sense. It's important to have a larger sample size to draw more reliable conclusions.
Absolutely. The point is that we need to be cautious about generalizing from these limited case studies, as they may not represent the wider population.